Howdy, Ags. It's another Cull and Good Bull from Cut 4 and 5 of Student Bonfire 2021. Last week was Cut 5. That was a double. And there was another 2-day weekend before, and that was some of the Saturday was out at Stack Site, and Sunday was in the woods. So I went out to check out Saturday from 2 weeks ago, and so we're gonna have 2 days worth of cut across 2 weekends to look over. And what do we have here? Over 1,300 photos is what that works out to. We all said and done, it ends up usually being 1 in 10, 1 in 20 photos ends up making it. So we're gonna wind up with a fair bit of photos here, and we're gonna go as hard as we can, because I don't know about you, but I'm tired. I would like to go to bed at some point. So we're gonna go through, review them. Anything comes to mind. We'll talk about that just a little bit. If you have any questions, like I said, I'm going to keep checking the chat. If you have anything that comes to mind you want to ask, we'll answer that. And I'm going to take one more swig of this energy drink that does nothing for me. I don't know why I even drink those stuff. I think it's disgusting. Unless they want to sponsor, and it's delicious. All right. So, cut 4. That's where we're starting from, not this past weekend, but 2 weekends ago, which was, late September, 25th, 26th. They're at Stack Site, and they are the second step of what they had started the week before. We looked back. The last time we were live, we were looking at photos from digging the holes to put the light poles in. And so on this weekend, this next weekend is that we're looking at here, they were filling the holes back in, raising the light poles all around, getting that set up, and then starting to dig the trenches for the power line. They're running good heavy duty wire buried deep and permanent so that they don't have to do that over and over again. It's a miserable thing that happens every year. I know every year people hate doing it, digging the trench to bury the wire. And it was even worse this year because they dug them deeper. But the good news is, for some years to come, that won't be necessary again, because they're digging it deep and they're marking it and they're doing it right, and they're going to leave it in place and just have a little junction. And as the architecture of Stack moves a little bit every single year to kind of steer away from the other poles from years before still in the ground, they're going to be able to return to one primary junction in the ground, and it'll be efficient from now on. But it was especially miserable over these last couple weekends. So by the time I got there, they had already started making mud, same way that you're going to do with tamping center pole. So you're filling the hole with a little bit of dirt, throw some water on top of it, water coming from shit pond, as they say, the little stock tank, couple football fields away. So they're making the mud and tamping it in. Here's Neely over there working on tamping in there the pole they're working on. So at this point, when I got here, they were already, and that's better exposure on that one. But when I got here, they were already a couple feet up on one of the poles they were tamping in. So you can see they're already able to reach the bottom of the hole, sitting on the edge of the hole. And these holes were dug about 5 foot down. So they're about halfway done. Now, as they're tamping, the junior red pot's going to go around and continue to call for more dirt to be thrown in the hole, and then to follow that up with a little bit of water poured on top of that dirt that just got put in. And what I just missed here is as he's pouring that water in, he's just throwing it down into the hole. And if a crew chief happens to be in the way of the water, well, then he gets a little bit of water on him. He just got some. And it might seem a little mean, but honestly, it's pretty warm. And you heard a lot of people say that actually getting the water spilled on them was a nice relief. So you see all the pots lined up full of water that's going to be put on top of the dirt. And everybody's ready with their shovels. Everybody's to the point that they know that any second they're going to call for more dirt. And he's called for more dirt. And everybody's getting it as quick as they can. Throwing it down the hole. Sort of bedlam. And just like with the water, there's going to be a little collateral damage. Everybody getting a little bit of dirt on them. OC, tamping around their hole. And again, like we talked about from the week before, when they were digging the holes, in the past, it wasn't until stack actually began that you would see the crews working together like this. But in the last couple years, last year with COVID, and then starting early and everything, just in case there would be any lost time, and then what they learned from starting early and how useful that was, they've actually for the last couple years, they've been working together earlier in the season, different crews. So for, as serious as they were, and you see somebody's about to get caught that right midair. Somebody's about to get that down the back of the shirt. But for all that they've done to make sure that the crews are staying apart in the woods, they do actually wind up working together earlier than usual and being out at stack site doing this stack site prep. We're going to look back years from now. We're going to look back, and people who are building Bonfire are going to be convinced that it was always the case that crews were at stack site 2 weeks into the year, and that's the way Lawrence Sullivan Ross did it or whatever. But really, these last 2 years have been this sort of thing coming together, this change, and I think it's a good one. It's we've talked about it before. It is miserable though. It is hot. It is so hot. It has been hot the whole season. There's barely been any cool, and what cool there's been has been gone by lunchtime. Granted, starting earlier, you're going to get a few extra hot days, but it seems like we're overdue for some cold. If we weren't in such a hurry, I'd jump back to 2012. I think it was October in 2012 that, I'm going to find it. October 2012. Here we see, this is actually January of 2012. So that infamous fire, that the 2011 fire, that was postponed and not burned until January of 2012. So one of those years of two fires. 2012 was a pretty cool year. The red pots carried in the torches to the first yell practice. Little subversion on the part of the yell leaders, getting motivated, getting everybody motivated by bringing the red pots in with the torches, having the red pots bring the torches in the way, old Army way, and it really did motivate everybody. So that was a good start. But what we're after here, I want to check my dates on this. But yeah, there we go. When was this? Yep, October 28th. So, by October 28th, there was ice. Granted, this is Texas ice. So, and here we are. We're into, this will be the second weekend in October, and we're still hitting 90s in 2021. Rough. Speaking of 2021, let's get back to it. So, where were we? Hot, sunny. They're bringing in light pole here. You see they've got the assembly already on it. Using the Y sticks as hoists. I think, one of the nice things too, getting all this done in this way now with everybody around, quite often when stack begins, I'm getting the exposure a little bit better on these. Quite often when stack begins, you'll hear and see off to the side the sparkulating of the welding up the Y sticks that might have broken in the off season and everything. And even as shifts begin, they're still putting together the broken Y sticks. And so this is nice that they've already got so many all put together. Can't complain about that. They'll be able to hit the ground running. Once stack begins. So you see there, everything, as with everything, manual, getting the poles up, getting them straightened up, pointed into perimeter. Now at this juncture, good time to remind everybody that, what's going on these light poles is this one's better. I like this one. What's going on these light poles is, of course, the lights. And the lights are being provided by the gallery through your generous support of the gallery. You are helping to provide lights for stack. And what we're looking at now, I'm going to confirm it tomorrow. The lights that we're going to get, we're looking at 3 times as much light this year inside a perimeter, and we're going to buy all the lights at the same time, and that way all the lights will be the same color, same manufacturer, same quality, exactly the same, and it's going to make shooting stack a whole lot easier. It's going to make working in stack a whole lot easier. My understanding, I don't understand a whole heck of a lot about, lights, but, we're looking at lights that have a higher quality, not just, for cameras, but for working in. It's easier to see, and, just the human eye, it's easier to see and work in the sort of light that we're looking at. So, real improvement for working conditions inside a perimeter, and these lights that we already have are going to be pointed out towards the skids outside a perimeter to provide some working light out in the field. So your support of the gallery makes that possible, that step forward for Bonfire. If you're interested, and I hope you are, visit patreon.com/DionC or reach out about supporting outside of that if you'd like. And yeah, your support is making it possible this year, not just to continue to spread the bonfire motivation and what these Aggies are doing and support the organization going forward, but your support is actually also making a direct and immediate impact this year in providing Bonfire some really awesome lights at no cost to the organization. So patreon.com/DionCgallery, or reach out at dion-c.me and yeah, help be a part of passing back that motivation. Now, speaking of, back to the photos. So we got the pole set in the hole, and now they start tamping. And so for a little extra motivation, the Reds are jumping in and being the first to tamp. And you get it in just enough, and then everybody jumps in the hole, and they start tamping. Jumping around on the dirt as it's made into mud. And you see everybody getting a little bit. I was trying to catch that dirt, catching somebody, but try as I might, this is close. I'm not sure that I got exactly what I was looking for, but we got a few that got kind of close. Either way, you get the idea. It's dirty. So there's a few in there. And so as they go, they call for different groups of people to jump in and tamp. Everybody takes turns. Nobody's exempt. Yellow pots, crew chiefs, everybody takes a turn in the hole. I think it was here at this hole. They called the brown pots in. But in here they called Walton to jump in. They said, if you would rather be at load site, get in the hole. And so, of course, Walton jumped in the hole. And we see what we were talking about earlier. Catching a little bit of water meant to make mud with. I think this was one. I believe this was one that I might have got something with. So you see there, and I'm getting the feeling that they're about to call for dirt. So you can't see it here. What ends up happening here is I just missed it, but you can't see it. So this is going into his lap. I was hoping it would get, over the top of his head, but it didn't. It went in front of him and in front of his face in his lap. So just missed it. It's all right. That's the end of the world. There's more dirt coming. One of those will work. Now, we also talked about how they were digging trenches. There's some of the trench implements. Well, a trench implement. They got a pickaxe there. I gotta tell you, I've never seen this in my entire life. Never seen it before. But 2 pickaxes were folded in half like a taco this year. 2 of them. Never seen it before in my life. Which, puts me in mind of an idea. I think I'd like to see Bonfire like. Well, I'd like to see people who have axes and pickaxes and shovels and equipment. Send it to Bonfire and say, see if you can break it. And tell us what you think. That should happen. People who make things that aren't supposed to break, send your things to Bonfire so that Bonfire can use those things and let you know if those things broke or not. Because I'll tell you, if it can survive Bonfire, it can survive anything. Case in point, and I don't know if I managed to get a photo of it, 2 different pickaxes by 2 different manufacturers that were bent in half. And I'm talking here. So, yeah, send your stuff. So, for a little fun, one of the red pots borrowed something he wasn't supposed to borrow, so that everybody would have to chase him down. Now, eagle-eyed Aggies are going to notice this being 2 weeks ago, and this being a senior red pot. See that? There it is. So a number of the Aggies out there were out there for the first time with their Aggie rings, including this senior red pot, which was pretty mody. So they caught him. They caught him and took back what he borrowed. Now, in the meantime, there's still work going on. Like here, continuing to dig the trench for the wire. Now, what they're trenching here is not going to be as deep. This isn't going to be permanent wire. If I'm remembering correctly, what's going on here is this is the wire that's just going to that back corner light pole. The permanent wire, so there's that back corner light pole. Where I'm at right now is pretty close to a light pole that's back this way. Maybe it's halfway between the two of them. But a little bit behind that, again, this way, is where the permanent wire is, and it runs off towards the ABT because that's always going to be where it is. And then at that junction there, just kind of back in this corner this way, that's going to be the permanent junction. And then from there, every year you run your wire to the poles. So it's going to save, I think probably 100, 200 feet of digging every year. It's about twice as deep now, but it's not. That 100 or 200 feet is never going to have to be dug again. So we're just having a look here at Kruger. Working on the trench a little bit. Trying to get another one of those hero shots. And now they're bringing in the last light pole. Another yellow pot, the Kruger yellow, waiting for the pole to be raised. His was over on the other corner, so now he's not calling it, and so he's just going to be waiting there with a Y stick. To help raise that for somebody else. Neely handles. You see, here's the shadow of the chief that was coming. He got excited that he got a photo of his handle taken. Here's a wider view of what happens with unloading the truck there. We saw a little bit closer the running and pulling on the rope, which breaks off the truck sticks. And now here's a moment that entertained everybody. I didn't realize what was happening from the distance until it was too late. So it had already happened and I missed it. But look at here. There's the Walton Yellow. So he's going along good. Everything's fine. Suddenly everything's becoming less fine. And now it's not fine. And everybody got a real kick out of this. Awful nice of him to do that for everybody. Just eat it. There he is. But they got the truck sticks broke off. And everybody, you don't stop running until they tell you to stop. So he gets left behind. This past weekend was cut on Saturday and Sunday. Oh, looks like I lost y'all there. I'm going to have to edit that out. I don't know how long the disconnection was. We'll see. All right, so here's the juniors calling for yellow pots and butt pots. And they all come running. Did a better job of it this time. So they're going back on the tour of the woods, see who's got what. At this point, I walked back to check out the parking scene, but also was going to drop off my second oldest daughter with Leggett, who she cuts with. So they've been my children who are old enough to build Bonfire and be useful, they've been looking forward to getting out to cut for the entire season. And here it was, the 5th weekend of cut, and this was their first weekend to be able to go out. But it was good. This was her first time going out to cut by herself with Leggett. Last year when she was cutting with him, she was cutting with her big sister. So this year, on this weekend, it was her first weekend. And also, we're going to see here that I spent a little bit of time in Leggett Woods to start the day. To see how Heidi was doing, one. And then secondly, I had not gotten any photos of Leggett cutting down trees all year. The timing had just been off. We just kept missing things. And, they had quarantine at the beginning of the year. So they weren't able to make the first cut, and it just kept not working out. So while everybody else had all their, general badassery documented, we had some catch up to do with Leggett. So spent a good bit of time with Leggett in the morning. And I was pretty happy with how it turned out. I think we got him caught up pretty well. But here they all are marching out into the woods. Got the axe boxes. Every crew's got their axe boxes containing everything that's important to them, you know. Again, we talked a little bit how in the really strict form of keeping crews separate that started last year. One of the things that we've seen is less people's stuff, you know, being borrowed. So you see the axe boxes, which, you know, not just for carrying stuff out, but they, you know, keep people from getting into your stuff. You see those now being left open a lot more. Because nobody's walking through woods anymore.